Yeah, so what I do basically is, I think, and this is, I think it's just as important in real life. It's not just online, but I think it's to take into consideration what the students really enjoy. So what do they like doing? And if you want them to be engaged, you have to make it interesting for them. They have to be topics that speak to them. So that's what I try to do. So I ask for input. I ask them what they would like to do, and I make sure that I change up my activities a lot. So it's not that every week we do the same. We do lots of speaking activities, but they're usually different. It's not that I never do another activity over. For example, there are certain things that they really enjoy, like debates and things like that. But I try to not do one weekly so that they don't get bored of it and that they stay engaged. And when we do certain activities, I asked what do they want to debate? What's important to them? What would they like to debate about? Not what I want to debate about. So they give me their input, and I go with that. And I think we have to speak to what they really enjoy, and they have a lot of distractions at home. They have their computer, they have their video games, and if we want them to engage online with us, then we have to make ourselves interesting and choose topics that speak to our students. And it doesn't have to be anything that's super extravagant. It just has to be things that they enjoy, topics they like to talk about. And what I've noticed is I get to know my students that much more online. It's really surprising, but they really enjoy talking about themselves and their personal experiences. So if you can have games that talk about or get them to talk about their personal experience and what they're doing, they show up and they always enjoy it.
I hope I make my classes engaging, and well, the first thing I do to hopefully achieve that goal is to greet students individually when they log on. So I ask them if they want to turn on their microphone, turn on their camera. We can say hi. I can ask them what they have been up to and what are their plans for the weekend and so on. So I greet them individually as they come in. And since they don't all arrive at the same time, I like to have a hook ready. So it's on screen when they join us. And that hook can be a riddle. It can be a current events. It could also be a quick question to recap what was done the previous lesson, during the previous lesson. During class, I like to keep them engaged, and I like to frequently check for understanding using sometimes the chat box, sometimes their microphone. And I know some students feel more comfortable typing, and I know some students feel more comfortable speaking out loud. So sometimes it's what they prefer. I would simply say, you answer either using the chat box or turning on your microphone. Sometimes I will encourage my advanced students to type it in because that's what they need to focus on, and I'll maybe call out a few names and ask them to turn on their mic because I want to see if their speaking skills are developing. Also, I've used menti.com to know how they were feeling about something. For a quick one-word answer, I've used Microsoft Forms as well if I wanted to get their opinion, their impressions about something. Basically, I ask myself, what will make them want to come back? And I think their need for social interaction is something I can use to my advantage. For example, during my first class, I wanted them to understand it would not only be about homework, it would also be precious time for them to interact with their friends. So we did a show and tell. Kids love animals, and they cannot bring their animals to class. So I suggested they introduce the group to their pet, and I had a few questions ready, the functional language on the screen, so that even my reluctant students or my more beginners, they would have language they could use that would be there for them to access. So students who had a pet presented their animal, and students who don't have an animal could simply introduce an important object. I have a student who's fond of basketball, so he presented his favorite basketball. And other students, meanwhile, when someone's presenting, the other students would comment and send positive feedback to the person talking through the chat box. So there are many ways I think we can engage students even though we're not face to face in the classroom.